Evening. This is Robert Ricks from the National Weather Service office in Slidell, Louisiana, with your Sunday evening briefing. We got a little bit of a late start because we had some weather going on and we were paying attention to the radar, but it looks like things are starting to quiet down a bit, so we got a little time to quickly run through this week in review. Looking currently, we do have a fast-moving upper disturbance moving through the evening. It's got a little bit of rain associated with it, but the rain doesn't appear to be heavy at this time, and should be just some light showers moving through late this evening and in the early morning hours, and then clearing out before sunrise tomorrow morning. So that's a good thing. We do have our first named tropical system of the season in the Atlantic Basin. It's Tropical Storm Arthur. It's out in the Atlantic, not affecting the Gulf whatsoever, and we'll look at that for a minute. And then we also still have drought conditions abounding in the area, despite the heavy rains that we just had recently over the past week. So looking at the current watches and warnings, we do have still some Mississippi River flooding going on. This has been ongoing for, well, basically since February, and it's starting to wane. We got a few points that's fallen up below flood stage now, and but there's still Red River Landing and Baton Rouge area, which is still slightly above flood. It's a minor flood right now. It is receding and should be falling over the next couple of weeks and improving. Hopefully, through the summer we should be seeing lower flows, barring any big rain events further north. And then, once again, these impacts mostly for navigation, not so much as far as public impacts. It's mostly due to navigation and activities, industrial activities within the batchers. So here currently is our upper level disturbances moving through the area. This is a radar perspective of it. You can see some spotty showers, very little lightning with the activity that's over Louisiana. There's quite a bit of lightning activity as you get towards Alabama, north of Mobile Bay. And they've had several special marine warnings and other statements issued throughout the evening for that activity. But as you can see, that rain over towards Alabama and then the Gulf of Mexico is moving to the northeast, while the activity that's over Louisiana is moving to the southeast. So you can clearly see there's some evidence of a upper level disturbance moving through the area. And as we look at the satellite image for the same activity, you can see quite a bit of flare up over in the Gulf of Mexico. Those are all moving to the northeast towards Mobile Bay and Florida Panhandle in general. And you can see the little L right there just north and east of Bogalusa area, somewhere between Bogalusa and Hattiesburg. That seems to be where the center of the circulation is. It's racing rather quickly. A couple hours ago it was over Alexandria, and now it's in this position. And in another hour or two it'll be closer to Birmingham. So it's moving rather quickly. You can see with the blue arrows, those clouds are approaching the coast and towards the Metro New Orleans area. And that will be the case through the rest of this evening and the early morning hours, pre-dawn hours, where we'll see some rain. But as you can clearly see, from basically Monroe down to Lake Charles, a hard clearing line. So that's our weather for tomorrow. We'll have some clearer skies once this low pressure area lifts out of the region. Here's Tropical Storm Arthur. You can see it formed yesterday afternoon, yesterday evening, off of the Florida coast, central Florida coast in the Atlantic, and it has since made some progress off the South Carolina coast now. And then tomorrow afternoon, early evening hours, it should be grazing the outskirts of the Outer Banks of North Carolina. They currently have tropical storm warnings in effect for tomorrow, and we are starting to see some signs of higher gusts at this time, close to tropical storm strength already in these outer islands near Cape Hatteras. So that's what's going on now. The good news is there's no impacts in the Gulf of Mexico or particularly in our local area from this. Excessive rainfall outlook, we did have this in effect for today. We do have a marginal risk, but it seems like that risk, that threat is diminishing as we speak. It's diminishing rapidly as that little upper feature races out of here. And then most rain should end by 4 a.m. The amounts have been relatively light, so we'll call it about a half inch or less throughout the night for most of the area. And despite this rain, we do still have drought conditions that are persisting. We have some severe drought conditions, D2 classifications, still south of the lake and along the Mississippi Gulf Coast. Most of the heavy rainfall that fell last Thursday was north of Lake Pontchartrain, basically in the Ponchatoula, Beatico Creek, Madisonville, Goodby area, where it was about 10 to 16 inches of rain. in a short duration of time. So that caused quite a bit of extensive flooding along the Bitter Creek in particular. But as a result, it was able to trim some of the drought categories that we'd shown last week off the North Shore areas. But the South Shore still, for the longer term, is relatively dry. So a little bit of rainfall that we do get from these little systems that come through does benefit somewhat, but it's still not enough to cut into the drought situation just yet. So in summary, we do have this fast-moving upper disturbance racing through the area this evening, and it should be lifting out before the morning hours, before daybreak tomorrow morning. And then Tropical Storm Arthur is the first named storm of the 2020 Atlantic Basin. We started early, a couple of weeks early. The official start of the season is June 1st. And if nothing else, this serves as a reminder that you should get your pre-seasonal preparations underway or completed pretty soon, because if this is any indication, it looks like it could be an active season, and it never hurts to be prepared. And then some drought conditions still abound in the area despite recent heavy rains. Looking forward to the rest of the week. Not really looking at much in the way of hazardous weather. We'll have a few days of some shower activity each afternoon, particularly as we get into the Wednesday to Friday, Saturday time frame. And we will be undergoing a warming trend throughout. We'll have some drier conditions tomorrow. But with that drier air, we'll be able to get pretty warm. We'll probably get into the mid-80s tomorrow, upper 80s on Tuesday, and then we'll be challenging 90s or even low 90s by the weekend. So that's all we have right now this week. We thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you later in the week. Have a good, safe week.